Hi again, Dawn here today to show you the sprout stitch for the sprout shawl, which is another one of the assigned pooling texture stitches that you can employ into just about any pattern. Just like any other assigned pooling project, you want to make sure that you have a variegated yarn that has good contrast between the colors. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is lay out your yarn and just take a look at where those color changes are happening. So in this case, this is a colorway called black on white, and it is kind of a beigey gray background that then kind of transfers into a charcoal gray and then back again to this background color again. In regular colorways in my collection, this background color is the same as Serenade, and the accent color is the same as Steadfast. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to plan any projects that need a companion color as well that would go with. So again, just like I mentioned in the last video about the floret cluster, in assigned pooling, it's not necessary to measure the length of the repeats and calculate exactly where you start and stop like it is in planned pooling. Planned pooling is a little bit more rigid in order to make it perform. Assigned pooling is a lot more free and relaxed, and you can build your texture stitches in wherever that accent color falls. So again, today we're going to be working on the sprout stitch, and I'm doing it here in black on white today to show you in a slightly higher contrast color pairing so that you can really see what's going on. When we're finished, I'll bring the original back in and show you the sprout stitch in the sprout colorway, but it is a lower contrast, and I just wanted you to be able to see a little bit better, so I decided to bring in black on white. So again, the first thing that you need to determine is where that color change is going to happen. In this case, it's pretty much for the most part, a pretty hard line between the white and the black. So again, sprout stitch is a derivative of stockinette stitch. So we have a right side and we have a wrong side, and it's very obvious which one's which. So you're going to need to be able to work these sprout clusters on, as if to knit and as if to purl. So you're going to need to just perform those stitches anytime that accent color comes up. So we're going to knit along in our background color because we're on the right side. And again, this is just a swatch. This isn't the actual shawl shape, but I do recommend that you make a swatch just to see how it's going to work before you cast on your actual project. You don't need to keep that swatch. It's just kind of a practice. It's not really for gauge. So it won't contribute to your yardage. You can take it out and use it again. So we're on the back side now, so I'm purling still in the background color, but we're getting ready to come up on our accent color. I think we can get one more stitch out of that. Okay, so now we're to our accent color. So to perform a sprout stitch from the purl side, since we're on the back, we're going to insert our right hand needle under 3 stitches as if to purl 3 together. And we're going to purl and not slide off, yarn over, and purl. So we purled 3 together, but we built in 3 new stitches. So our net increase is 0. We didn't add or subtract any stitches. And we've made 1 sprout cluster. Now, this is where things are a little bit different with the sprout stitch than it is for the floret cluster stitch in the float and calico shawls. With this one, we don't have to turn our work over and build an entire cluster before we move on. So we are just going to continue to work this little sprout pattern until our accent color runs out. So in a lot of ways, this is a much easier stitch to do than the floret cluster. So again, we're going to purl 3 together, yarn over, and purl 3 together. We just happen to have 3 stitches left. We still have our accent color running, so we're going to purl 3 together, yarn over, and purl 3 together. Okay, now we're going to turn our work over. We're still in our accent color, so we could work another cluster right on top of those same 3 stitches, but I tend to like the way they look a little bit better when they're staggered. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and knit that first stitch, even though we're still in our accent color. And now we're going to take the 2 stitches from this last cluster and this 1 stitch from the next cluster and knit those 3 together. So again, we're on the right side, so we're going to perform this cluster stitch as if to knit. So we're going to knit, yarn over, knit. Okay, there's another cluster made. Now we still are working on our accent color, so we're going to continue in that manner. This is 2 stitches left over from the last row of clusters. So we have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take the first stitch from that next set, and we're going to knit those 3 together, yarn over, and knit those 3 together again. Okay, we're still in our accent color, so we're going to do that again. I'm going to take the next 3 stitches, they can be a little bit tight because you're working multiple stitches into multiple stitches, but we're going to knit, yarn over, and knit. Okay, and we're still in our accent color, so we're going to do that again. I'm going to knit 3 together. We're back into the background color though, on the stitches that are facing us. We're going to knit, yarn over, knit into those same 3 stitches. All right, now we've pretty much finished up our accent color, so now we're just going to continue in plain knitting because remember we're on the right side of the fabric. We're going to knit to the end. Again, this is just a swatch. If you are actually making the sprout shawl or any other shawl shape that you are applying this to, or even sweater shape, you would follow the shaping directions for your project. Okay, so we're on the wrong side and we're in the background color, so we're just smooth sailing along with our purls. When you come to a cluster from the previous row, you just work into those stitches individually. I've been asked a lot if assigned pooling is a beginner-friendly project, and I would say yes, as long as you know how to knit and purl, yarn over. You would need to be able to make simple increases and decreases, and you would need to understand the concept of right side and wrong side, and also how to work multiple stitches into multiple stitches. So it might be maybe an advanced beginner, almost intermediate knitter that could do this, but any knitter could learn some new skills with this concept. And so I encourage you, even if you are new, to jump in and give it a try. So we're back on the right side again. We're still working in our background color, so we're just going to be knitting. So if you make a swatch like this, just remember, this is not going to show you what your pooling pattern is going to look like at all, because the pooling pattern is really mostly determined by the number of stitches you have on each row. And if you're making something that has increases or regular increases or decreases in it, like a triangle or even a bias rectangle, then it's going to have a different shaping and therefore different stitch counts per row, and that's going to move around where those pooling sections fall. If you're making a swatch like this, you're not going to really get a good grasp for how those how the pooling is going to look in the finished project. It's going to look a lot more regular if you have the same number of stitches. Okay, so we've come back to our accent color. We're on the wrong side, so that means we're going to work this next cluster as if to purl. So we just happen to have 3 stitches left. We're going to purl, yarn over, and purl. Okay. Now, if you had 2 stitches left, you could have undone 1 stitch and used that 3rd one and worked it into 3, or you could have just worked a 2-stitch cluster, and that would have worked out okay too. Now we're going to turn over. We're back to the right side again, and again, I don't particularly love when the clusters stack right up on top of each other. I think it looks better if they're slightly staggered. So we're going to go ahead and work that first stitch. We're going to knit that first stitch. Now we're going to take the next 3 and work them together as a cluster. So that's going to offset our little clusters a little bit, and I think it just looks nicer. You don't have to do that. You can stack them on top of each other if you'd like to. It's just whatever you prefer. So we're still in our accent color. We're going to knit the next 3 together, and we're just going to keep on working that little sprout cluster stitch where we're working 3 into 3 all along until we run out of our accent color again. Now another difference between this and the floret cluster is with the floret cluster we have elongated stitches to work into. So you'll notice that this looks and feels a lot tighter when you're working into it, and that's okay. You just have to, sometimes you have to kind of wiggle and push a little bit more to get all of those stitches in. So again, it's knit into 3, yarn over, and knit into those same 3 again. And you just continue doing that until you run out of your accent color. Now I've already run through my accent color, but I wasn't quite finished. So you'll notice that this little cluster has 1 stitch on the end of the background color, and that's quite all right too. That won't hurt a thing. All right, so this is what those little sprout clusters look like. It gives you a nice, almost like little sprouts of grass, or you could almost think of them as wheat stalks that are bound in the middle. But it gives a really interesting texture. And I'll pull out the original and show you. This is the original sprout shawl. And you can see I assigned the really bright kind of acid green color to the sprouts. Let me turn it around this way so we're looking at it as it was knit. So you can see these little sections of the bright green, and then the kind of sagey gray green in the background was just plain knitting. And then you can see the back side. This one's not necessarily reversible. This isn't one that I would recommend calling reversible, but you can still see that the little sprouts did take place. It's just they blend in a lot more with the purl side. But on the right side, they make these pretty little clusters. So I hope this helps. I hope this answers your questions that you might have about the sprout stitch. Please feel free to email me if you do have any questions. You can also message me through Instagram or Ravelry, but I do tend to answer my emails and see my emails faster than I do other forms of messaging. And my email address is printed on the bottom of the pattern, so you can always find it there. If you have the pattern, you have my email address. It's also on my website, so if you're at chasingrabbitsfiber.com and you'd like to get in touch with me, there's a little envelope icon just under the main navigation bar, and you can click on that and it'll take you right to an email message box. So again, I hope you enjoy assigned pooling. It's kind of fun to let the yarn be the driver for a change. Instead of telling our yarn what we want it to do, the yarn gets to decide what it's going to do and make its own pattern. So I hope you enjoy it. Please remember to use the tag assigned pooling if you post pictures of this on Instagram, so that everybody can see your beautiful work and so that I can make sure and see it too. I don't want to miss it. And again, feel free to explore this concept and come up with your own texture patterns, and just see where it takes you and have fun with it. Thank you.